Hey guys, today we're just going to talk a little bit about sleeping gear. Start off, I see a lot of self-proclaimed Minutemen who, they've spent a lot of money on, their rifle and ammo and gear and everything like that, but they haven't put, either they haven't put a whole lot of thought or they've put next to zero thought into their sleeping gear. And for Minutemen, if you're going to be on extended field operations or anything like that, or even just 3-day outings out in the bush, you need to consider your sleeping gear a little bit more than you have. Today we're just going to start with an overview of the full spectrum Minuteman sleep system. I don't have an acronym for it yet, but when I do, I'll let you know. Basically, it's a full spectrum shelter and sleeping equipment list to just be able to take you from any temperature range and give you just a lot of options in terms of your sleeping gear. I don't have everything pictured, but I do have a list of everything and a few tips on what you should do. So, to start, your sleeping bag. The sleeping bag is going to be the modular sleep system. This will include the bivy bag, the patrol bag is lost in there, the patrol bag, and the intermediate bag. People will say, oh, well, I live in Florida, so I only need the bivy bag and maybe the patrol bag. Well, that might be true, but if you're a self-proclaimed Minuteman, Patriot or whatever, then you need to be ready to move to wherever the conflict is. The conflict might not be centered, around you and your area, so you got to be ready. We don't know where the conflict will be. We've got to be ready for wherever the conflict might be. So get the whole thing. You can get it pretty cheap. Don't go to Sportsman's Guide and buy the whole thing for $140. That's retarded. Just get just buy it piece by piece from places. It really doesn't matter which one you get, whether you get the woodland camo or the ACU. It really doesn't matter because most of the time you're not going to be, sleeping out in a sleeping bag, just nothing over you to cover you. So I would say you will be fine with either version. This does include the large compression stuff sack. The small compression stuff sack is an option if you want. It's not really a requirement, but I'd say at least have the main compression stuff sack and the small one that goes with it. So that would be technically the five-piece sleep system. The next part is you should have 2 ponchos and 2 poncho liners. Okay, now we're going to talk about this here for a minute. The reason you have 2 ponchos and 2 poncho liners is because one poncho and one poncho liner gets buttoned together and becomes a ranger roll, and it stays that way. Okay, we'll get to that in a sec. The other one stays separate, and the poncho liner is meant to be used as a sleeping bag liner, and the poncho is usually meant to be an overhead or a tarp, or meant as a ground sheet or something along those lines. The reason you have the one set as a ranger roll all the time is because there will be certain situations where you've got to pack this web gear. Okay, and what will happen is the ranger roll, which is right now in the butt pack, gets strapped underneath there and becomes a second line field bedding of sorts. This becomes especially paramount in the winter, where if you get stranded without your ruck, you're going to need that extra warmth just to stay alive. Which brings me to my next point. So, like I said, 2 ponchos, 2 poncho liners. I'll elaborate more in a little bit, I think. The next, you're going to want this. This is a Casualty blanket. Okay? Basically, it's like those survival blankets you see, but a lot better. As you can see, the inside, because this is rolled in properly, the inside is that same type of reflective mylar type material, but it's much thicker, much rougher. This is actually could be used as a tarp if need be, or as an overhead. So there's that, and it'll reflect that body heat back to you while not giving away your position to everyone in a 1 mile radius of you. So that's another thing, is the Casualty blanket. These come in woodland, and I believe just kind of like a gray type material. Either one would be fine, just get whatever you can. If you find the woodland ones, though, pick those up, because those are nice. Those are what I like. So boom, we've got the sleeping bag, we've got the 2 ponchos, the 2 poncho liners, the Casualty blanket. Let me check my list real quick. Blah blah blah. Oh, ground pads. Technically this is 3 ground pads, but it's really 2. It becomes 2. What you're gonna do is you don't want to get is one of those accordion style, like grid type sleeping pads, because those, while they are convenient to roll up, you lose the ability to roll anything with them, and that becomes paramount in this system at times. And people complain about the old isomats, that they do not provide enough warmth. Well, one, it's not really to provide warmth. What you do to make these much better for everything pretty much but winter use, we'll get to that in a sec. What you do is you just get 2 of them, cut them widthwise to your shoulders, cut them lengthwise from your neck to your knees. Okay, cut them both like that, and then just get some Gorilla Glue or Stitch if you feel like it, or melt holes and 550 cord them together. I don't care what you do, but basically just fuse them together. And what you'll get is a doubly thick ground pad. But for 3-season use, you only need insulation from your neck down to your knees. That's all you need it. That, coupled with whatever sleeping system you're using at the time, you'll survive. For that 4th season, those bitter cold winters, what you have is an air pad. I really don't care what kind of air pad it is, because there's lots of good ones. I would just say make sure that you get one that is rugged, because a rugged air pad is what you need, because you don't want your nice air pad going out on you. That sucks. But just find one that's rugged. I would say put ruggedness just a hair over weight. If you can get one that's a good bit more rugged, just a little bit heavier, I'd say go with a little bit heavier option. Also, too, if you can find a contoured one that's contoured to the shape of the sleeping bag, get that, because your sleeping pad should go inside your sleeping bag, especially an air pad, to protect it a little bit more. Plus, you won't slide off of it or anything like that. Next, we're going to talk more about shelter. What you need is some form of one-man tent. And I'm going to give my opinion on what it should be. It should be a dog tent. And I know I can hear people screaming at their computer screens going, why would you use a dog tent? They are too heavy, they suck, they're garbage, blah blah blah. Okay, I believe you just haven't been using them right. With the dog tents, they come with the poles. I believe it's 6 poles and 12 stakes. Okay, and the stakes are obnoxiously large, heavy, and they're blaze orange, which is retarded. And the poles break too easy, they're big, and they're also too heavy for what they do. Trash all of those. Just don't even get it as a kit. Just buy 2 shelter halves as is. Just those. Get your own stakes that are lightweight. Just get some aluminum stakes from anywhere, and what you can do is on the grommets, if it doesn't already have it, just tie a 550 cord loop. There you go. So you have stakes, which are a lot lighter now. And then forego the poles and just do a ridgeline between 2 trees. We'll get to that in a separate video. Just do a ridgeline between 2 trees. There's no need for poles. The poles are strictly there for setting up in open fields and stuff, which is retarded. We're not doing that. So just go ahead, get 2 shelter halves, use them on your own, roll them up with your ground pads there. You'll be fine. It's not that heavy. Like I said, you will survive. If you're really hurting about it, get maybe to the Marine Corps Field Tarps. They can do the same thing. The reason I say I like the dog tents is because you can actually find a configuration to turn them into you can button a bunch of them together and form a 6-man tent, which is awesome for group work. 6-man tent. So that's just my 2 cents. That's how I believe it should be done. Plus, they are durable. You've got to kind of think long term with some of this gear. As Minutemen, your stuff has to be able to last. If you've got holes torn in your tarps and everything like that, and your stuff's not lasting, it's not going to do you much good. So I'd say if you're not going to have it primarily, at least have a dog tent set up just for backup, just in case, because I know it'll last. Plus, dog tents can become a hammock. I'll show you that at some point later. Another kind of tip, I guess, on sleeping gear: have 2 sets of sleeping clothes. 2 sets. One for when it's warm, one for when it's cold. For when it's warm, just get a set of loose skivvies, top and bottom. Something like this would work. Just a set of synthetic, soft, lightweight skivvies. Or you can sleep shirtless, I don't care what you do. But just something like that. Just so when you get in, if you have the luxury of getting in your sleeping bag or your gear, or sleeping gear or whatever, you have the luxury of being able to strip down. Sometimes you might have to sleep in your boots and uniform and everything like that, but we'll save stuff like that for the kind of the tips. This is just the overview of the system. So, and then for when it's cold, so winter and everything, what you should get is a set of just extra warm socks, a neck gaiter, or like a neck gaiter or a balaclava or something like that, something to breathe through, so that your breath doesn't condense as much. A set of thicker long johns, something like, give me a sec, something like this military grid fleece is perfect. It's warm. Find your size, find the size that you wear, and then go up one, just so it's a bit loose, feels nice to wear, blah blah blah. And then if you want it, a hat, because unless it's an emergency, stuff like that, your head should not be inside of your sleeping system. So there's that. That's the overview of the system. So real quick recap: the entire military MSS modular sleep system. The 2 becomes 1 isomats, the air pad, 2 ponchos and 2 poncho liners, a casualty blanket, a dog tent setup, modified, a set of summer and set of winter sleeping clothes. That's what we'll call that. And then the large compression stuff sack and the small compression stuff sack if you want it. There we go, guys. So next video will be about modifications and things you can do to help improve your system here. I hope that does it for you, and I hope you found some useful information in this video. See you later, guys.